Hi guys, Tab here. Hope you're all doing well. In a recent video in the Porsche Taycan, I went to try and charge it at a nearby charging station. And if you saw the video, you will remember that it didn't go very well at all. In fact, it was a complete disaster. Nothing worked. And there were quite a few comments in that video, people talking about their experiences, which was great to hear. It's really good to get an understanding of just what's going on with other drivers and their charging experiences with the Taycan. So essentially I arrived at the charging station in Virginia Water, a Shell recharge, and nothing worked. No method of payment, no method of authentication was working, and the only way to get it to work was indeed to use the credit card and pay 85p per kilowatt hour. And the principal man inside me just says, do you know what, I'm not going to do that because it's a lot of money to be, I feel like it's a bit of a rip-off, to be fair. So I emailed Porsche. On the app there is a link to email Porsche and raise any concerns or questions or technical support that you've got. So I sent off an email and explained the situation, backed up with, of course, the video evidence and a few screenshots just to kind of help set the scene a little bit clearer. And they got back to me pretty quickly, to be fair, which was good. And they said, yes, indeed, according to our records, this is a Shell EV charging station. So note the name of that, Shell EV charging station, Shell EV Europe or something along those lines. And according to our records, it should indeed work, certainly with the RFID card at a minimum. So that's the card where you tap on the side of the machine and it should kick it into live. But nothing worked, as you saw if you watched that video. And I went back to them and said, with a screenshot of their app showing that it is indeed a Shell EV recharging station. But of course, when we got there, it wasn't a Shell EV charging station, it was a Shell Recharge charging station. So effectively it had been a little bit rebranded, if you like. And that was my suspicions as to why it wasn't working. And indeed, Porsche said there was a few follow-up emails there. I explained that it was branded a Shell Recharge now, and somebody else also contacted me on the comments and said, yeah, they've had a nightmare getting it to work there as well, on a Facebook group, saying, yep, didn't seem to work. It's a bit hit and miss with Shell. So Porsche kind of just said, well, we can do our best to ensure that it works, but the reality is the providers of these services can make changes or alterations at any time, and it's effectively a little bit outside of our responsibility should they decide to do this, which is kind of pretty much what happens. So effectively what I think has happened is it's been replaced, it's been upgraded. As you saw, it's now 175 kilowatts. It was 150 kilowatts before, to this new brand, a Shell Recharge, and branded Tritium, I think it was. So that was my suspicions as to why it wasn't working, and indeed it wasn't. But Porsche did actually say, well, we can confirm that this charging station should actually work with the RFID card as of now. So if it isn't, you'll need to pick it up with the provider of that service and explain to them the situation and see if indeed there is anything they can do. But there was a very helpful follow-up comment in the YouTube video that said that the only way Porsche Plug and Charge, which is what this video is all about, would work is at an Ionity station. So it's a specific capability, specific function that is provided by Ionity that should work with the Porsche PCM system, so that when you plug it in to a charger, you don't need to do anything more. It will automatically communicate with the service, let them know who you are, let them know that you're authorized to use it, and then it should start pumping your car full of electrons, just like that. Or at least that should be the case. And what are we doing now? Well, I'm actually on my way to the pub tonight, the Duke of Wellington, going to meet the girlfriend and some friends there, so quite looking forward to that. But it's not too far from the Cobham Ionity motorway service station charging unit. So I thought, why not swing by that and see if indeed it works as expected. Now the hope is it will work pretty well. These are super duper mega ultra rapid chargers, 350 kilowatts, so they're bonkers fast. There's not many cars that can actually accept that. I believe potentially can the EV6, the Kia EV6 accept that 350 kilowatts? I don't know, but not many. I think the best you're going to get out of a Porsche is 270 kilowatts, 250 kilowatts. I've set mine to just 200 to preserve the battery life a bit, and I don't need to fill it up completely. I just want to connect it, get some juice in there, and see if indeed it is working as it should. So fingers crossed it will, and we're not going to guarantee that we can get 250 kilowatts because it depends if there's any other people using it, and also the current temperature of the battery and all the other parts of the equation that go into ascertaining just how much juice, how many electrons you can squeeze into your car at any one time. So let's get to the service station and we'll tune back in then, see what the deal is, see if we've got a space, see if we can plug it up, see if it's working. Fingers crossed it should all go without a hitch, but we never know. And if you have subbed already, really appreciate it. Thanks for supporting the channel, it does mean a lot. It's ticking over nicely. I do promise to keep the content coming, so yeah, I really do appreciate it. Do sub, do like, the usual stuff, and see you at Cobham Services. Wow, the glamour, the excitement, right? So as you can see, it's pretty busy here, and all the stations are full right now. There was a guy in front of me in that i3 who's just pulled in and is looking to charge. There's another car that's just pulled up to get in the queue. So it could be a bit of a wait here, and herein lies the problem. 6 stations, plenty more than 6 cars waiting, so pretty busy. And I think another thing to note as well is these are 350 kilowatt chargers. I think when they're fully used, they're probably not going to be providing anywhere near their maximum capacity, and of course the cars you see aren't all capable of pulling anywhere near that, I would imagine, especially the i3, which I know can only pull at 50 kilowatts. We'll have to wait and see how this goes, but you could find people sat here for quite some time waiting for their charge to complete. All fun and games, right? Petrol forecourts, far easier, far easier. Okay, so we've got a space now, it didn't take too long. Let's see how this goes. So nice, decent long cables with these ones. CCS, it should be a case of just opening up the charge port, like so. Flap down, and let's get this in. Okay. That seems to be working. That is it. Plug and charge, confirm working, which is great. I don't believe it. Okay, what we're pulling there, about 88 kilowatts, which is kind of expected. There's a lot of people charging here, it's full, as you can see. And I'm not sure we'll get much higher than 88 kilowatts. But let's see how we go. 89 there. Just coming inside the car here. It died. It stopped charging. So it was charging for a while and now it's stopped. So not ideal. Let's just kick that back into life. Okay, take 2. it did cut out, so I need to just make sure that my mode in here is correct as well. So it should stay charging hopefully, and it's DC, so there's no profiles active. It should just pull as much power as it can. So 88 kilowatts we're pulling there, and hopefully it will hold out, because last time it just stopped, which is not ideal. It seems to be holding nice and tight now, so 50%, 88 kilowatts. The challenge is though, this should ideally be a lot more than 88 kilowatts. It should be upwards of 200 kilowatts if we can. It might get a bit faster as the battery warms up, but we're not going to be charged here till 2014. So if I wanted to go to 100%, oops, point in the right place. If I wanted to go to 100% here, then I'll be sat here for quite some time, and obviously tying up the charging space as well. So luckily I don't need to do that. Not really ideal, but it's juice nevertheless. Okay, that's done. We're now up to 60%, so I think we're good for the sake of this. Stop charging. Get that back in, a success result. So that was a success. Plug it in, it communicated with the PCM and started charging. Who'd have thunk it, albeit a little bit slowly, given the fact that there were so many people using it, I think, and you know, sharing the full load of that charging site. But yeah, that worked really well, and obviously a few people waiting, so sharing a few stories about the trials and tribulations of charging EVs, why it's not standardized. One poor guy there, he'd had a power cut at home. He'd normally be charging at home, but he's had to drive out to this station to put some juice in his car so he can then go about his business tomorrow. So yeah, that for me was quite a decent little experience in terms of how smoothly it went. But those Ionity charging points, there is only, I believe, about 20 or so of those dotted around the UK and Ireland, so not a lot of places you can do that. And I appreciate there are other fast charging stations, but all not standardized, right? It just depends on the manufacturer of your car, who provides the service, that service provider, and all these other variables that you've got to take into consideration when you want to charge your car. So yeah, I mean, it could be great, it could be brilliant, but really you kind of need a station like that, like one of those Ionity stations in every town in the UK in order for this to work properly. Until we get to that kind of saturation of EV chargers, you know, that mass adoption is going to be a struggle, and we're already apparently seeing a downtick in the adoption of EVs as people just think, do you know what, do I really need to get an EV now? Can I carry on with an ICE car, putting fuel into that for a while? I think I can, and until I'm forced to go down the route of an EV, you know what, I might just not bother. I'm so pleased this is such a good drive, because otherwise, yeah, it would be a different story altogether. But wanted to share my experiences of it working very well this time, and yes, it did redeem itself. It was solved. Thank you very much for watching. Do like, do sub, usual stuff. I'll catch you on the next one very soon. Bye for now.